regarding the hardware infrastructure, there are a couple of things you have to identify before you start, if you want to install this. I'm referring to the performance of the CPU, the quantity of memory, and the specific SSDs what you want to use. What's the general rule in designing the system based on the needs of the customer? Can you enlighten us a little bit there? For example, the performance and the quantity of cores and frequency of the CPU.
All right. So, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So what the system we used here for this demo, there is really nothing special about it. It's just a 2.4 gigahertz Xeon E5 system. We have 3 of these nodes. This was designed for convergence. So if you're doing converged setups, you would usually need a lot more CPU cores than StorPool needs. So for converged nodes, you would go with single or dual processor Xeon E5s. For standalone storage nodes, you would go for single processor Xeon E3. And if you really need high-speed, high-performance standalone storage nodes, for example, something that if you have, say, 10 SSDs per storage node, for example, we would definitely recommend a single processor Xeon E5. So for StorPool, because it was designed for handling the converged configuration really well from the beginning, we are going with this concept of the StorPool server service using one CPU core. So depending on the speed of that CPU core, you would get more or less performance. Depending on the memory latency, you would get more or less performance. So there are trade-offs, but the trade-offs are, as you can see, even on a 2.4 gigahertz CPU, which is not the top end, right? We can still do 200,000 IOPS on the initiator, right? So if you have a faster CPU, we would be able to do more. So it's a trade-off between, say, 150,000 on the low end and maybe 250,000, 250K IOPS on the high end in terms of performance you can get from a single initiator. And it's a similar trade-off on the servers, but it's again in 100,000 IOPS or so, depending on is the CPU a 2 gigahertz CPU or a 3 gigahertz CPU. So you will optimize depending on are these converged or non-converged nodes. You would pick different faster or slower CPUs or CPUs with more cores or less cores. There are trade-offs, and we can help along with these.